Hey guys, like I just mentioned, thank you for joining us here today. Just hit record on the button. So we'll be recording this webinar from here on. I will share the webinar link to anybody who attended and all those who signed up and weren't able to attend today. And then I guess just to repeat for the sake of the recording, what you're hearing today is Guru Systems webinar on text message marketing. So we're going to cover a lot of good stuff. We're going to focus on texting in general, but also specific to the cannabis industry. So without further ado, get rolling here on today's agenda. So like I just mentioned, what we're going to be covering first is going to be compliance with the text message marketing rules in general, right? So just if you're not in the cannabis industry, if you're selling cookies, t-shirts, etc., what are the rules you need to comply with either way? Then more specific to the cannabis industry, specific rules that are going to be related to cannabis marketing in general, and then also specific to things like text message marketing. And then finally, we'll wrap it up with how to make sure that you're doing everything right, people are opting in, but how to make sure that you remain welcomed by your audience and that a couple months into it, they still want to receive your messages. So with that, I do have the benefit of having my colleague and friend Santi join us here. So Santiago is with MJ Freeway. A lot of folks might know the name. MJ Freeway is one of the leading, or in my opinion, the leading seed-to-sale platform in the space. They'll provide you with ERP solutions for your business, from seed to sale to the individual person as well. You'll be able to get full transparency and tracking. And of course, Guru Systems integrates perfectly with them. So happy to have my friend
Ralph.
here.
Yeah, thank you, Ralph, for the introduction. I think this is a great opportunity. We were mentioning before, I was coming to Ralph with several questions and a lot of curiosity around the text messaging game, right? Not only as it relates to the cannabis industry, but really as a whole. And so we figured it would be a great opportunity to take this conversation and make it public so that anybody that shares my curiosity and my questions can leverage this webinar and hopefully get some value out of it. So thank you, Ralph, for having me today and for putting this together.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. It's going to be a good time. Much more of a fireside chat than a boring monologue. So I'm looking forward to that. And all
Same
right,
here.
ready? Let's do it. So yeah, so I guess just going into the conversation field, right? So we were chatting and you were kind of asking from square one, right? So what is texting, right? So we had paused that conversation when you called me. I said, I'm not going to finish the conversation, Santi. Let's just do this on webinar. So let's continue our conversation then.
Let's do it. Yes. And again, just a very entry level conversation. I'm familiar with text messages more from the point of receiving them. Right. I have seen an increase in text message marketing because it is known to be much more efficient than emails. Right. I think at this point, everybody has that extra email that they create just so they could sign up for offers and never check. We don't have the option to do that with our text messages just yet, but it is important to know from the ground up. All right, Ralph, what are the rules of the game?
So are you suggesting we all carry a burner phone just for text? That's a good one.
It might get to that. We'll see. Hopefully not.
Yeah, no. Well, hopefully with I say it humbly, hopefully with good tools like the ones we put here in Guru, we don't have to get to that end, and people are being responsible with their marketing.
I agree. Yeah, I'll be the first one to sign up for dispensary text messaging. And I think, the people that do it right is the people that I want to continue to be engaged with. So, like you mentioned at the beginning, right? Like, how do we make sure that the text messages that are being sent by our clients are well received, not only on the first one, but months out into this relationship with their patients or customers?
Yeah. So the first things first is going to be just kind of CYA, right? Just making sure that you're doing best practices so that one thing that folks can always opt out, if they don't like your marketing. It's less than ideal, but if you're not putting out a message that folks want to listen to, they can always go elsewhere. There's another slide for that, but this slide is specific to hey, just making sure CYA. If they don't like your marketing, they can leave, but you're not going to get fined for doing things you're not supposed to. You're not doing any practices you shouldn't be. Those kind of things, right? So rules of thumb. That's what these are. First rule of thumb for you is make sure that they're aware, your audience is aware that receiving these messages, being part of your thread is optional, right? So obviously the best way to do it is, get them to opt in properly. So that could be, whether you have a tablet at the dispensary that's next to the register and having them sign up, whether you're doing pop-up events or trade shows or fair, well, not so many trade shows nowadays, but there are some events coming back. So whether you're doing, in-person signups and some things like that, or whether you so that's the most straightforward, right? Just having them straight up opt in to begin with and give you their number when they're making a purchase or meeting you the first time. But the other thing is maybe you have different digital funnels set up, right? So you have where you're doing marketing campaigns. Maybe you've already been doing text messaging with another platform. Maybe you got your Instagram and your social media on point, and you're getting people to sign up that way. What have you? If you have folks that came in and they don't have an explicit opt-in next to the name, just make sure that the first time you message them, you ask them to opt in. You tell them, hey, listen, this is optional. You're part of our welcome. You're part of our loyalty program now. You're part of our messaging program. Reply stop to stop or to opt out. Reply one to opt in. Those kinds of things. Make sure that from the get-go, they know that this is optional and that they have a choice. The flip side to that, the caveat to that is make sure they have a way to opt out, right? So that's point number 2. So let's say they signed up, they when they signed up, they were all about it. They were the perfect audience for you. They wanted your message. They wanted your specials. A month has passed. 2 months have passed. Maybe they're not in town anymore. Whatever. They don't want your messages anymore. Not a problem. Make sure that they can opt out. Right. So that's another huge thing, because they could have opted in the beginning, but if you are not letting them opt out, that's where it starts becoming spam. So make sure they
Got it,
have.
Rob. So us humans have a short attention span. Let me
Yeah.
make sure I didn't see a squirrel while you were talking there. Opt in, opt out. Real question, quick question, right? Yes or no? Because we can dive into the weeds at a later point. Does Guru help me to gain new customers by opting in? Right? Do I have a tool from Guru to use at these trade shows or at my dispensary so that I could easily get the information and get them to opt in?
Yes. Yeah. So you can, within Guru, you can launch sign up pages, customize them, that kind of stuff. You can also connect Guru to other databases that it automatically feeds in, like when they come to your POS for the first time. And then we can also help you out with you can set up shortcuts. Like, so the same way that you can have somebody reply stop and automatically be unsubscribed, you can have somebody send you a message that says start and get subscribed in. So you've seen that messaging that says, hey, text this to sign up. You could set up, we have them set up as long code. So you'll set up, regular phone number. So it won't be like text, here to 333 for Bosley's most recent thing, right? But you can say, hey, text start to, what, and it'll be in your area code too. So if it's Puerto Rico, if it's Chicago, if it's Colorado, it'll be in your area code. Hey, text start to 312-303-11111.
Perfect. What about opt out? Does Guru help me to automatically opt people out if it need be?
Yeah. So regardless of how you've configured your messaging, etc., the platform has it so that if somebody replies stop at any point, they're going to be opted out. And if you you can't override it. If you try to send them messages, they won't get it. So yeah.
Perfect. I like that.
But
Keep me within the best practices. I like that, Ralph. Thank you. I'll let you jump into 3 and 4.
yeah, perfect. Yeah, please and interrupt me, because I'll go down a rabbit hole on one of these points. So just keep tell me to keep it moving. But yeah, so the next point is just be mindful of who else is going to see the message, right? Kind of like with email, make sure that the email you send is something your grandma would want. Like, you wouldn't be embarrassed if your grandma saw it. Kind of same thought process there. Just following best practices would mean just being respectful of what you're sending to who. You might have somebody who opted in and is all about it, but if you're sending them messaging that would be considered explicit realistically, and it's something that they don't necessarily want their kid to see, just be careful, because somebody might leave their phone facing up and things like that.
I like the kid example better than the grandma example. My grandma taught me how to make canna butter, so I'm sure she would love the content, but I
Yeah,
don't think you can text her landline, so that might be a little challenging.
yeah, no. Like, there was one of the, and I know you always ask me what's the worst thing that'll happen, right? So what's the worst thing that'll happen here is, realistically, you can get fines, um, and if you're really breaking the rules, then you can get hefty fines. But as long as you're following the rules and having best practices, like, everybody's, if you have 100,000 people on your list, odds are one or two of those people may have forgotten that they signed up for it, may have whatever, and they're going to say, oh, why am I getting this message? I didn't sign up for it. As long as you don't repetitively send them that message, you'll be fine, right? So as long as you have an ability for somebody to say, hey, I don't want this, you'll be fine. The one case, I've only seen one or two cases in my 5-6 years in the cannabis industry for text message marketing where somebody's actually gotten fined. And the one that really stands out, and it makes sense that they got fined, frankly, was somebody who, whether they signed up or not, I don't know. But the point is that the phone belonged to like a 10-year-old or a kid. So the father or mother kept replying to the dispensary, please stop sending these texts. It's a child's phone. After the seventh, eighth time, that's when they got fined. So it's okay to make a mistake. It's not the end of the world, but just make sure that you're monitoring, that you have the mechanisms in place for people to opt out and say this isn't for me and that kind of stuff.
Thank you for sharing that story, Ralph. Those stories are definitely easier to remember than just bullet point rules.
Yeah.
So that one will stick with me. And yes, you took the question right out of my mouth, right? You might know me too well. My question is always, what's the worst case, right? So those fines is what we're trying to avoid. And my question about, how do you help me opt in? How do you help me opt out? Seems like, we can easily avoid those problems.
Yep. Um, and then, yeah, just the fourth point, I'll kind of repeat in some of the other slides. So I'll go past it, but it's just be purposeful, use smaller segments. It helps you keep your messaging on topic, on point for the people that want it. And I'll get into that, but it definitely helps with compliance, not just your marketing ROI. If you don't mind, I'll skip this icebreaker, Santi, just for the sake of time.
Yeah, that's fine.
We received and kind of touched on a little bit.
I'm sure everybody has an example of that nowadays. So
Yeah, but how to avoid having your content be spammy, I'll touch on in the next slide when we talk on how to make sure your messaging stays welcome.
perfect.
So when we were chatting before, we were talking about marketing in general. Text message marketing in general, but you as well as I know that cannabis, like in every other area with text messaging, is no different. It's another world with hoops to jump through.
Yeah, I mean, I know, you got to deal with the cell phone carriers, which you're going to talk about here in a second. And right, the content that we're sending is also something that we got to keep in mind. So as we were talking before, right, is take me from the ground up of normal text messaging rules and then cannabis specific, which is again, right, our industry and what we're passionate about. So tell me a little bit about those cannabis specific best practices, please, Ralph.
Yep. No. So with the first thing to keep in mind is, like I said, every market, as you know, is different. It's a whole other world. It's a patchwork of different regulations. And although the regulations are similar across one state line to the next, you need to be aware of the uniqueness in each, right? To avoid getting fined from the Department of Health, Department of Ag, Department of what it may be in your market. A couple of examples, and if somebody in a specific market kind of wants to go in and have like a survey of the rules there, more than happy to have a follow-up call with you and your team. But specifically, just a couple of examples. For example, in Arkansas, you're not allowed to do text message marketing to an end consumer, pretty much almost period, right? You're not allowed to be advertising, promoting. You can communicate via text with your customer, so that might be to help fulfill an order, saying, "Hey, your order is ready," or etc. Reminding somebody that they might be due for a refill or something like that. But to be just outwardly broadcasting, advertising, you're not allowed to in Arkansas. Where in other states you're fully able to do that. And in Puerto Rico, for example, you're able to text for advertising, stuff like that, but you can't text the prices. The prices can't be visible in the text. So there's definitely finer details that you need to remember and be aware of. That's the first thing is, how do I do text message marketing responsibly for as a dispensary or as a cannabis brand? First and foremost, look up your marketing rules. And 9 times out of 10, or pretty much 10 times out of 10, it's not going to say, for SMS marketing, this is what you're allowed to do. It'll be more generic. It's going to say, hey, you're not allowed to be publishing prices somewhere a child might see. Right.
That's actually a good point, Ralph, because that's an example I was thinking of, right? There's markets where you're not allowed to smoke, right? It's only vaporize.
Mhm.
So you're the point you just made, right? The regulations might not say you're not allowed to text somebody XYZ, but keeping in mind, right, if it's a market where you can't smoke, then or you can't sell pre-rolls for that same reason, then sending a text message marketing that says smoke or with a pre-roll is just not a good context. So just thinking out loud here as you were speaking, that those are good examples.
Yeah, and it can be a pain in the neck to have the extra rules. But the good thing is that the same way I just mentioned that you're not going to see the word SMS specifically in the regs, um, you're also not going to have to worry about SMS specific regulations, right? So as long as you already have, and if you're in this industry with all the regulations you need to follow already, I'm sure you have somebody on your team that's watching regulations, watching compliance. That professional is already going to know in general. Okay, as we're communicating outwardly, these are the things we want to do, not do, and that's going to apply for the most part, whether you're doing email, texting, Instagram. There are a couple of instances to remember, and it's more just in line with the previous slide, which was keep in mind the difference in the medium of texting, where it's uh, you're not going to be worried about your 7-year-old reading your email as much as you are about your 7-year-old seeing what somebody texted you. So there's some differences in the medium there that might come into play where you can say, oh, well, I wasn't outwardly publishing my prices. I just texted the people that signed up for it. Yes, but make sure that within the text you're using proper mechanisms like um, that they have to click on a link to see the price to open up the image or things like that. Just make sure you're putting a little bit of a barrier between a lift gate, if you will. Second point number 3, right? Um, a lift gate or a barrier between you and your content. It's counterintuitive. Usually, you don't want to necessarily do that with your marketing. You don't necessarily want to put barriers between you and your content. But here, just the same way you would have on your website a check that says you're older than 21 or 18. And then the other thing that I kind of skipped over there is with cellular companies, you don't only have to worry about the regulations for the governmental agency, but also each telephone company, each cellular provider is going to have their own policies that they, as an independent company, they have full right to impose if they want. So the great thing is, or the thing to remember is if you're gonna be doing text message marketing, find a platform that's focused on the cannabis space. Don't go to, I mean, you can find slick text or text mobs or whatever outside of cannabis, but they won't tailor in the back end. They won't be tailored on the back end to properly support cannabis content, right? So Guru already has. I'll bore if you guys really want to have a one-off conversation. I'll bore whoever is interested in how we work with telephone companies and how our system has algorithms in place in the back end to make sure your content gets delivered. But just keep in mind that cellular companies, since they have their own policies, they treat cannabis as explicit. They'll bucket it. They'll put it in the same folder as you would pornography, essentially. So you're not going to text somebody an explicit photo of pornography. You're also not going to text somebody an explicit photo of cannabis without asking them, hey, click on this if you want to see the picture, right?
Definitely an interesting way to think about it, Rafa. I hadn't thought about it that way. So I'm again thinking out loud here, right? As you go through these points of best practices, text messaging specifically within the cannabis industry, I'm thinking how most text message providers that I spoke to, both inside and outside the cannabis industry, charge me per message sent, right? So I'm even following best practices. I imagine there's going to be situations where maybe a text message is going to be blocked for one reason or another, or it's not going to deliver to a patient because they gave me the wrong phone number or it was a landline, whatever it might be. So I'm curious, is Guru's model also to charge for message sent, or is there something else considering the more complexity and higher regulation within the cannabis industry?
Yeah, that's thank you for that because you brought up 2 points there. So one is the many different ways in which your message can be filtered is what the telephone carriers call it. So I'll mention that, but to answer the specific question up front is there a difference between what you sent and what they've received in terms of the consumption of the text messages, of the messages themselves, right? So to answer that, it's important to. I'm not sure if everybody in the audience knows, but regardless of what text messaging platform you're going to use and what their actual membership plan looks like, the crux of it is you're going to have a specific allotment of messages that you can use per month, or if it's kind of open ended, it's still going to be metered, right? And it's still going to be measured, and you're going to be they're going to be tracking each message you use and how many messages you use. So it does become a very big deal if you're sending a message out to, let's say your broadcast has an audience of about 10,000 people, and in that audience, keep in mind, these are folks, these are phone numbers that may be in your POS and you see the sale elsewhere that you've integrated, right? So people that sign up, and when they're signing up and they give you your phone number to the dispensary, for the most part, they'll give you the right number, but sometimes they might give you the wrong number. Maybe they'll give you a landline, stuff like that. So if you have 10,000 people in your audience, let's say 1,000 of those numbers are landlines or bad numbers, you don't want to have those count as messages you've sent, right? So make sure that the platform that you use, see how they're counting the messages, because a lot of the platforms out there, most of them, what they'll do is if you send 10,000 messages out, you send 10,000 messages, period. If 1,000 of those were landlines and they didn't get the message, that's on you. Guru is one of the few that doesn't do that. We in everything, we like to say that we're for the people, right? We always work with you, and we like to work with new businesses, small businesses, etc. So what we've done is, this is just how our platform works. It's nothing special, but the way our platform works is you only get charged, right? Or the only messages that count are the ones that actually make it to the end destination. So in my example there, you send 10,000 messages out, 1,000 of them are landlines. You actually only sent 9,000. So that's a big differentiator. There's definitely a lot of things that I can talk on as to how we accomplish that and how the back end tracks all that. But the end of the fact of the matter is that's the case. So make sure that if hopefully it's Guru that you use for your texting, but if it's not Guru, just make sure that whoever you use has a similar policy.
Thank you, Raf. That's good to know. Absolutely. Any business owner is going to have their budget in mind, and it's definitely a differentiator that's worth highlighting. So thank you.
Yeah. And I was about to dive down a rabbit hole as to all the different ways in which you can get your message blocked. But I'll with Guru, like I said, we'll still make sure that we have the highest. I'm proud to say the highest delivery rate for our industry. So we will still make sure that your message is always getting delivered, even if you're running into content filtering issues. On the platform side, we'll make sure the platform is delivering the content to your recipients, and then we'll also work with you to make sure we'll monitor your content. There's alerts in the platform that'll give you a red flag if you're using content you're not supposed to, but we'll also kind of keep an eye on things. And if we see, performance, as we call performance down, you're not getting a lot of clicks, you're getting a lot of unsubscribes, we'll reach out and help out where we can.
Yeah, I like the business model, right? Putting the hat of a dispensary owner, your business model makes it in both mine and your best interest for those messages to be delivered. So I'm sure that we're both going to be working to accomplish the highest delivery rate, not only send rate.
Right. Exactly. I did skip over this icebreaker question. I don't know if you wanted to do something. If you're curious, the biggest mistake we've seen.
I can think of a few, mainly just stories from you. So I guess share it with the audience. There is one interesting short one. Why not? And I'm sure everybody can think on their own of some.
All right. Which one's the one you think about? The patient, the patient.
Yes, the picture of the yeah.
Yeah. So we
Again,
had
stories stick better to your mind. So something for everybody to try to avoid.
yeah. And this one's just anecdotal, just a little icebreaker. But the I guess the message of the story is just double check before you hit send, right? Just make sure your spelling is on point. Make sure the image that you selected to send is the one that you meant to send. So long story short, here we're working. It was over a weekend, and one of my customers called frankly, and we were able to help them and able to kind of salvage the situation. But long story short, they were in a rush. Then they picked the wrong image and they hit send to about 6,000 people. And what it was patient information essentially for one patient. So they freaked out. Of course, they freaked out. They broadcasted patient card to everybody. Luckily, the patient was okay with it. They reached out to the patient and rectified it. And On our side, there were a few things that we put in place to help stop scenarios like that. So you're able to schedule out a message, right? So you can, like, if I want to get ahead on the weekend and just today just schedule out messages for the weekend, I can do that, and I can schedule it to the exact minute I want it to go out on a Saturday. But and it'll go out at that minute. But what we put is we did put in a delay if you send a message now. Like if you're not using the scheduling feature and you're just sending it on the fly, you're gonna have a little delay to make sure that, if you make a big whoops, you can pull the switch on it, and also it'll go out in batches so that if it already started going, the message already sent before you noticed it, at least you can stop it from fully sending, right? So let's say you send it to 10,000 people and you call us halfway through and you're like, hey, stop it, stop it, stop it. We can stop it and at least only 2,000 got what you didn't want to send instead of all 10. So things like that. But that was
I
that.
like that. I like that, Raf. Yeah, I mean, I think everybody can relate with sending something, whether it be an email or a text message, right? And for the most part, to one or a handful of individuals that you've always said, oh, I wish I could take that back if it was just a spelling mistake or you included someone you didn't mean to. So I definitely appreciate, just as a human, which I'm sure, we will all make mistakes, that you have little tools there to help out in case of emergency.
Yeah, you ever text the wrong person that you were talking about them. You texted them what you were talking about them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's always you're thinking about somebody, you're talking about somebody, and that's the person you add instead of the
yeah.
person you meant to add. Yep.
Hopefully, you're speaking well of them when you did that, right?
Always.
But yeah, so I guess on that note, right? How remaining welcome, how to do it, right? So by that I'm talking about, or we're talking about, let's say they signed up. How do you retain your audience at the end of the day? How do you retain your audience? A lot of this is going to be um, not even text message relating, just good marketing practices related. And a lot of it's going to be text message related. But summarizing it in kind of four basic points, I would say, Santi, and then because we can talk for hours for this, and I'm happy to if anybody wants to after this. But for me, the four main points is, the first, make lists. I like to make lists for things in my life. I have list making apps. So this is no different. And it can be on the back of a napkin. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, but make a list of three main things. And if you want, I mean, make this idea your own and make more than just three lists, but three main things is what I do. The first thing is the different groups, all the groups of the customer personas, right? All the groups that I can talk to. Wax purchasers, flower purchasers, baby boomers, millennials, people in town, people from out of town. Make your list, whatever works for your business. And it doesn't have to be an exhaustive. If it's just 5 groups to start with, 3 groups, then it's fine. Just get started. Make a start. You don't have to worry about getting all of it. Next is the type of media that's at your disposal, right? So we're talking about text messaging right now, so I'll just include the file types that you can text, but do this for outside of just texting, right? Types of media would be, texting would be one of those, so you'd have social media, texting, email, weed maps, etc. And then within texting, just texting specific for this, types of media, right? So you can include pictures, JPEGs, PNGs, etc. So pictures, PDFs, videos, audio, all the different types of media. Just text if you want. If you want just text, no media, but different types of media that are at your disposal. With Guru, all the ones I mentioned are. You can send all of those in your texts. And then last is the use cases that you have, right? So use cases would be, general marketing message, happy birthday message, your order is ready for pickup message, a couple of use cases, right? And you can get crazy with it. Like those are just very, very, very large buckets. But even outside of that, like more specific use cases would be within the category of promotional messages, right? So use cases would be the promo for the specials of the week that you might send on a Sunday. And then another use case is going to be, okay, Waxy Wednesdays message, two for Thursdays, or Saturday specials on Saturday. Like whatever the specific messages you're sending out, just kind of list those. So what you end up with then is a matrix, right? A big spreadsheet. It's a matrix where you can start mapping it out, right? So you'll start with, okay, the first thing we'll say, okay, groups. Let's say I'm gonna tackle my people that are in town. With the media is going to be a text, an image via text, and the use case is going to be to tell them about my specials of the week versus my Waxy Wednesday versus whatever. So there you end up with one line item on your spreadsheet. and you can just fill in the column with, okay, here's the content I'm going to send, here's the picture I'm going to use, and just build a nice little calendar that way, right? But that's not only going to help you become really organized, but it's going to help you start tracking your ROI, making sure that you kind of see a big picture of where your messaging is going, who's going to, and it's really going to help you stay on topic. You're going to make sure, since you're segmenting, you're making sure that you're messaging people with what they care about, and it's also going to help you with the other compliance elements that we spoke about. You're making sure that you're not spamming. Spam is when you essentially start sending messages that don't care about. So it's not just for good marketing; it's also to avoid spam and compliance issues. Think of how they're going to use the SMS that you're sending them. Some folks are going to, in certain markets, will use the SMS that you send them, or what they want is a flyer of the specials for the day or what products are on sale that day or the specials for the week. Because what they're going to do is they're going to get the text that they received early in the morning before they walk out of the house that day. They're already going to have in their mind, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the bank. I'm going to go to the laundromat. I'm going to go to work. And then at lunch, I'm going to go to this dispensary because this is the one. So versus folks who maybe they're working from home, they have the benefit of being able to quarantine at home still, and they're working from their couch and they're not going anywhere. They want a text that's going to lead them to an online order, not just an online menu, but a specific product that they want, right? So how is your text going to be used? Make a demographic for that and focus on that use case at a time, right? So you're not texting the wrong people the wrong things. What's the path of least resistance? Not stumbling over your words is one, but the other thing is to make sure that ultimately, how can I minimize the amount of clicks this person is going to have to make, right? If what they want is to place an order, don't include in the message a link to the website where they'll go on the website to find your menu, and on the menu they'll find your location. No, segment them into cities and send them a menu for their city or for their product category, whatever. You can in with Guru's menus, you can send somebody a link to a specific category, specific product, those kinds of things. Versus somebody who's, like I said in the other example, getting ready to go out their door. What's the least clicks for them? Don't send them something that they're going to have to click into and look for pricing and stuff as they get ready for the day. Send them a picture that has a flyer of the specials right then and there without them having to open it, right? So they can just see the message, say, oh, wow, these are the specials I wanted, and beyond. The least clicks is always going to be the best. And then finally, just like with social media, be human. That's really going to be the difference maker. Nowadays, we all get texts from different companies. Texts are still, myself, I welcome them, and studies show that most consumers would actually rather work with a brand that texts them. And that in light of everybody talking about text being spam and all that, how do you differentiate? Well, don't just be another company. Don't just be another commercial robot, essentially texting people automated texts. Be a human, especially with the text message. It's a very intimate type of communication. It goes to people in their pocket. They open it. It's right next to the text that they received from their mom, from their grandma, right? So make sure that it's a human that's texting them. And if you can, if your platform allows it, which once again Guru does, go ahead and accept replies, monitor replies, have a little bit more engagement with your audience, right? That's how you not just retain loyalty, but also keep them looking for your messages and hearing about your specials.
I really like this slide, Raf. Several reasons, but I'm thinking of this one from a personal perspective, right? As a medical patient, different use cases. The first one I can think of is that birthday text message, right? And I know you previously told me Guru can automate that, but I know it's coming from, an automatic system, but still receiving a text message on my birthday, I think anybody would agree is definitely a nice feeling. And it does make me visit dispensaries that I may have not gone to for a few months. So it's a good way to bring patients back in and work on that patient or consumer retention. The other use case I was thinking, right, which encompasses groups and even media, and then how do you want somebody to utilize the text message, and what's the path of least resistance, and how do you make that text message sound like you're a human? A text message that first of all uses my name, right, and like a first name, and then that speaks to me, meaning what do I like to purchase, right? I'm not a big flower guy. I know it is one of the top selling product in the industry still, but I'm more of a solventless concentrate guy, right? So rosin. Someone that sends me a text message that says, "Hey Santi, check out, our new rosin products," let's say, and they have a link that takes me not to their menu, because then I still have to filter by category, subcategory to find what I wanted to look at, or what they wanted me to look at. If they take me directly to that product or that category of products, 9 out of 10 times it's going to make me place an online order or go to the dispensary, right? Most likely because of just my lifestyle working from home, I can place the order online, makes it much easier. So as that person receiving those text messages and comparing that to just check out our flower specials of today or the week, those messages I still appreciate. I love to see what people are doing in the industry. But again, 9 out of 10 times with a flower text message, I'm going to look at it and close it, versus a text message that is more so speaking to me, using my name, using my purchase behavior, and taking me directly to what they want me to see. That's going to work 10 times better than other approaches. So I definitely appreciate this list. I think it's something that, we can speak on at another moment in a deeper conversation. But I would highlight it from that patient and consumer perspective, that these points are definitely very important, and they do work, right? At least with me.
Yeah. No, and that's a great point. And one of the things that you can also kind of help differentiate, because that's what really we want to do, right? You want to stick out to your audience, want to differentiate, and if you're speaking to what they're looking for and exactly what they want, that's the easiest. That's the lowest hanging fruit, right? So first and foremost, speak to the audience, because they're going to ignore you otherwise. But then odds are maybe there's two or three other folks that are also speaking to that audience member, right? So how do you further differentiate yourself from there, right? So there's always going to be more that you can do to excuse me, be more creative and engage with your audience. Two examples, or the example is find new and unexpected ways in which to communicate with your audience, or touch points to surprise them, right? Um, for the most part, audience, they're going to expect, and in the mornings, the beginning of the weeks, maybe towards the end of the day, towards a happy hour, 4 to 5 p.m., to receive text from brands. Just like at this point, like clockwork. I'm sure you guys are the same. I already know exactly when companies are going to be texting, emailing me. It's like 8 a.m. on a Monday. I already expect my inbox to be filled up. It's those times, and that's for a reason. It's a rule of thumb, right? Like there's good times of text and bad times of text, etc. But also some of the favorite texts that I see from my customers that really stand out to me. And keep in mind, we have customers that have, 20 dispensaries, vertical operators, and we have dispensaries, customers that are just single operating mom and pops, right? So, and some of my favorite texts have been from both ends of that. Um, One of the favorite types of text that I've seen has been an out of the blue text saying, "Hey, we haven't seen you in a few days, or in 30 days, or haven't seen you recently. Why don't you come back in and say hi?" Something like that, right? That's out of the for the customer, out of the blue. It's not 9 a.m. text blast that they're also getting all the other brands texting them. It's just really personalized to them, and you know that that's just a calendar in the back end saying, okay, who hasn't been here in 30 days? But I really like that instance, and that same dispensary went a step further and made it specific to products also. I said, hey, you haven't been here in the last 30 days for your cartridge, right? And they were trying to promote specific products there, so they did a filter to say, okay, who bought this product, etc. But so that's a really good one. And then another one, it's not a dispensary actually, but it's still a cannabis operator. It's a it's a training company. They train employees, and they use our platform for texting, and they always surprise me with how they use the platform. I have a couple of companies that are firms, not necessarily dispensaries, but they're firms in the space that they'll use the platform to send out, whether it be the voucher or the passcode for today's class, or things like that. And maybe you guys aren't giving, as a dispensary, not necessarily giving classes, but you might still want to engage with customers in novel ways in which somebody could, whoever guesses the right amount of beans in a jar, whatever, gets a reply. So there's different ways that you can utilize the tool to engage with folks. That's
Yeah, I
definitely
think creativity is always welcome from the receiving end. One I haven't seen, but a random one I thought about is half birthday text messages, right? I think
there you go.
most people don't even know when their half birthday is. So, like happy half birthday, here's a 5% off. You made it halfway around the sun again. So
Sweet.
again, creativity is always welcome.
That's an awesome. I'm going to steal that one. I'm telling you now. I'm not even going to ask. I'm stealing that one. I like that
That works.
example. Cool. Or the half 420. What's the opposite? Well, I guess that's 710 already. Well, it's a quarter away. Anyways, most creative use of SMS we've seen. We got ahead of that one. Cool. All right. So then, quick little demo of what Guru will help you with. You guys didn't think you were going to get away without a demo, did you? Just want to show a little bit of the platform. So Guru Systems, it's a cloud-based marketing software that it integrates with your seed to sale tracking platform. So MJ Freeway is a really good friend in the space of ours that we integrate with really well. But we also integrate with other platforms like BioTrack, LeafLogix, etc. Trellis also. But that being said, we're the marketing plugin to your seed to sale tracking platform, right? We're going to provide online ordering menus, text message marketing, and loyalty programs, all fully integrated in real time. We have an incredible integration with MJ Freeway, I'll repeat again, that really allows seamless two-way communication where folks oftentimes, dispensaries oftentimes, don't even need to go to Guru for certain elements. They go just straight into MJ Freeway and find the data there. So really good integration. I can talk about it for days. Our menus are awesome, and we're going to have another webinar on that. But specific to what we can do with the text messaging, I'm just going to kind of focus on this one screen for the sake of time and just to keep the conversation light. But I'm happy to do a demo with anybody after this or scheduled in the future if you guys want. So this is where the magic happens really when it comes to texting. A couple things you can do here. First thing I'll mention is the types of text you can send, types of media that you can send, right? So you can include a couple of short codes, like we call them. So you're talking about personalizing. So you can say, hey, first name, check out our specials, etc. But what's going to happen here is it's going to say, whenever I receive a text, it's going to say, hey, Ralph. Santi's going to say your name. When Jane or John receives it, it's going to say their name. That's a really great way to personalize. And you can personalize automations also. So there's automatic text you can send. Now, I'll mention before I get into the automated ones, you can send a text right here now. So I can just type out my message, hit send, and it'll go now to the folks. You can schedule it ahead. So you can, if I want to be proactive and get ahead for the weekend, I can say, okay, this Saturday I'm going to be cute and say 4:20. I'm going to text my pre-Valentine's Day special out. It's going to go exactly at 4:20 in my time zone to everybody. So you can do that. You can also program, and what I'm doing here is I'm going to save this, and it's going to save with the text that I entered, any images that I added, all that stuff is going to save, and that's what's going to be sent out. Same with my birthday message. So I can go ahead and craft a birthday message, save it, and now automatically it's going to say whoever's birthday it is today, it'll say, hey, Santi, happy birthday or happy half birthday. And if you want to do that, you can automatically schedule that out. You can program. So those are the types of like either real-time or calendar-based messages. And you can program automated messages also, right? So you can program a message to be your welcome message. So every time somebody is added to your contact list fresh, a new contact is added, they'll get a message that says, hey, welcome. If you're adding it in the middle of the night, it's going to go out at 9 a.m. so that you're not texting people at the middle of the night. Those are one of the nice little bells and whistles that you don't often realize. But
so no you up text messages?
Yeah, exactly. Now, if you do send it now, it'll go out when you send it. Like if you're not scheduling it, it'll go when you click send. But that's on purpose. The order ready message. So here I can whenever this is for curbside pickup. So here I'll show real quick, not to get all over the place, but in your orders page, this is orders for your online menu. So I have orders here, and you can send a text saying, hey, to let the person know that's waiting in a car that they can come in and pick it up now. Right, so there's that ability. You can send a curbside text also. And then you can send text based off of status, order statuses or order activity. So this is connected to your menus. When an order first comes in, it'll be in pending, so you can program what they get as an automatic reply. Thanks for your order. Stay tuned. We'll let you know when it's ready, and then so on. Right. In each stage, you can push into the next stage. If it's fulfilled, for example, that means the order is done, closed, paid for. They'll get an automatic text saying thanks for your purchase. Come in the next 10 days and show this text and you'll get $10 off or whatever. You can automate a lot of your messaging there. So a lot of different possibilities there and the types of messages you can craft. The media that you can add, it's just going from your file browser. So it's nothing special, nothing too crazy here. But and by that I mean it's simple, right? It's on purpose where it's easy to use. You can just go into your file browser, select the picture that you needed to use or you wanted to use. This could be the deals for the week. It could be the advertisements for a specific product you're promoting, what have you. But it's not just an image that you can include. You can include PDFs, GIFs, GIFs, however you call them, little video segments, audio. As long as it's below, I think 5 megabytes, you can include it. Right. So with that, there's and emojis. You can include emojis. We got a little emoji keyboard here. But if there's any emojis that you get off the internet, like pot leaves or anything like that, you want to just copy and paste here, you can. It's friendly for that. The platform, it's desktop friendly, but it's also mobile friendly and tablet friendly. So you can be working on this on an iPad, and if or a Surface Pro, or if the computer you have has a touchscreen and you want to leverage emoji keyboards or emoji apps, this field will accept all those emojis as well. So there's a lot that I'm kind of glossing over. The only other thing I wanted to mention while I'm on the screen is we have Bitly integrated directly into the platform. So if you guys don't know, Bitly is a third-party platform, but it's free and it's integrated already here in Guru, so you don't have to worry about it. It's free for you guys. And with that, what you can do is, you type in your message, hey guys, etc., and then, check out our offers. And you're including this Bitly link, which it's a shortened link. It takes them to the same exact spot that you entered here, but it's much less characters. So you save on your characters, and then the other thing too is that it has link tracking. So now you'll be able to. I'm going to stay on the screen, but you'll be able to go to your message history here and see. Okay, the message I sent out today on Wednesday at 4 p.m. I sent it to 1,000 people. 600 of them clicked on it, and you can see those kinds of insights and ROI reporting. At a high level, because I could definitely go down a rabbit hole and talk for a very long time about all this stuff, but at a high level, Santi, what do you think? Have I missed anything? Have any questions come in?
No, I mean, I'm thinking more so. I think, to tease the audience for a deeper demo, which, I'm sure you'll share your information here shortly. But I think, to keep in mind what we talked at the very beginning, right? It's not only about how many messages you send, but also how many messages are received, and then how well are those messages received, and how many people took action on those call to action. So I think it's great to add that Bitly link and be able to see how many people are actually clicking, right? How many the call to action. I will mention, and then I'll hand it back to you, Raf, and thank you for your time and the invitation. A Guru customer got me recently, and I really like this. So they took that approach of, really speaking to me. Hi, Santi, check out our new rosin. Send me a link that went directly to their rosin subcategory under their menu. And then when I placed the order, I actually also saw some recommendations that they had below for some solventless edibles, which I had not seen, right? Historically, edibles are just made with CO2 or BHO extracts. So that was very interesting. And even though I'm not a big edible guy, they did speak to me in that text message with the rosin. But once I was in the menu, I was able to be interested and actually add one of those solventless chocolates to my order. So I think, like you mentioned, it was a very high level overview of only the messaging. What you can do with this tool is much more than that. So I'll leave it there for the audience to reach out and ask for a personal one-on-one demo.
Nice, thanks. You hadn't told me that story. That's cool. It's always good to see customers having good success with Guru, and that's a great use case, and it's good that I'll ask you what brand it was later, what dispensary it was later. But that's good. That's good to know. Thanks for that story.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then so we do integrate with multiple platforms, but by far our best integration partner is MJ Freeway. It's really a seamless clutch, if I may say. It's a seamless integration that does a really good job communicating both ways. I have a lot of experience myself in seed to sale world and with different platforms, and by far my favorite, not just platform, but team is really MJ Freeway, and Akerna is the parent company. You see there in Santi's email address. They're on NASDAQ, publicly traded, so that's where the Akerna ownership brand comes from. They have a lot of other great tools outside of just MJ Freeway, if you guys are curious and geeking out a little bit there. But yeah, so I really, really wanted to thank your time, Santi. If you guys want to reach out to either Santi or myself, please do. Here's the information. We do help both Santi and I. We do help our customers a lot. But with that, there's also other services outside of just the platform, whether we're talking about MJ Freeway's platform or Guru's platform. Both our teams also have consulting services that we can help with if you guys need any help on the compliance side, on the operation side, or on your marketing side. Happy to help.
Thank you very much, Raf. Looking forward to the next time we do this again.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. I'll send this out to everybody who signed up or attended shortly. Thanks, guys. You all have a good one.